Krown Produce supplying select Canadian retailers. Krown Produce, proud sponsors of Canada West Football and Canadian University Countdown on Shaw.
And welcome to another edition of Krown Canadian University Countdown. I'm Jim Mullin. Well, the Canada West was back in business this week, and the Calgary Dinos cashed in. Meanwhile, it was another chapter in the Battle of Quebec. Tell us all about it, Mr. Ryan Sullivan.
Ryan Sullivan? What am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, fried with onions. You've been waiting for it. We got it. After Laval took Game 1 of their Montreal home-and-home last week, it was time for the Roughriders to hit the road and enter enemy territory. First place in the conference was on the line, and entering the playoff stretch, absolutely every point that you can put on that scoreboard becomes absolutely critical. Laval, Montreal. Gorgeous day in Montreal as we get a nice shot there of the Big O. A crowd of over 5,000 on hand, and as you can see, a lot of Laval supporters made their way south for this one. Early in the first queue, keep an eye on the bottom of your screen as Rotran Sene tries to go up the middle but gets the ball stripped by Sammy Hebert, which leads to this 22-yard field goal from B-squared. Boris Beatty, Roughriders take a 3-0 lead late in the second queue, and this play comes back to haunt Laval. David Deschamps' field goal is good, but Dominic Noel would get called for roughing the kicker. A big mistake. It would prove costly for the Rouge, or as with the fresh set of downs, Alexander Nadeau-Pius fires a strike over the middle for Philip and Chill, who hauls in the major. Caravans take the lead, and right before the end of the half, they build on that lead. Pius connects with J.C. Fanup. That's 7 more for the home side. They take a 15-3 lead into the beer break. Early in the third now, and the Rouge come to life. Tristan Grenon tosses up a perfectly placed ball for Matthew Norzil, who hauls in the catch with these. Laval down just 5. The two sides would trade field goals, but in the fourth, the boys in red come to life. Grenon fakes the handoff twice, rolls right, everyone goes the other way, including the cameraman. He then airs it out for J.S. Haidera, who gets tackled at the Montreal 5-yard line. Unreal play that gets capped off with this scamper from Grenon, who muscles his way into the end zone. Rouge take their first lead of the game. Laval's faithful can smell a comeback. However, a few minutes later, Laval is forced to punt deep in their zone, and Jonathan Gagnon breaks through and blocks the punt. Montreal recovers. Check out the Superman leap from Gagnon. That's how you do it, kids. That sets up this 21-yard field goal from Deschamps. He nails it. That's the dagger for Montreal and the Caravan faithful, showing this lonely Laval fan who's number one. And that's why they're showing him the middle finger, right there, Andrew?
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah, we're number one, yeah. Obviously. Anyways, the Caravans would add a safety in the final minute and take the game by 3. Pierce with a solid day, connecting on 20 of 27 passes for 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sene rushes for over 100 yards for the 5th time this season.
Bishop's Sherbrooke. We picked this one up early in the first queue. Ver-Aor pivot Jeremy Doyen-Rock hooks up with Sebastian Blanchard for the touchdown. They lead it 7-1. However, the Gators would respond. Ron Lee King-Filine punches this one in from 5 yards out, and Bishops retakes the lead. Shift to the second queue. Green guys down by 9 until Rock hits Francis Lapointe in the end zone. That's a 36-yard tally. Bishop's lead now cut to 2. Very next series for the Gators, and Jordan Heather plays hot potato with the pigskin. The ball bobbles around until J.C. Grenon scoops it up and rumbles his 260-pound frame into the end zone. Sherbrooke takes its first lead of the game. A few minutes later, and Bishops takes that lead right back. Heather airs it out for Alexander Fox. Outstanding one-handed catch, but that lead wouldn't last long as William Dion nails his first of 3 consecutive field goals. Sherbrooke leads by 7, but Rock and Blanchard would hook up for a second time in the game, this time a 20-yarder. Sherbrooke takes this one by 12. Rock was solid on the day, tossing 426 yards and 3 touchdowns. The second-year pivot spread out his offense, connecting with 8 different receivers on the day.
Concordia stings McGill's hopes of making the playoffs after sneaking out a 3-point win on the road, down 40-36 in the final minute. Stingers QB Reed Quest hits Chris Bastian for a 19-yard major. That capped off a 6-play, 59-yard drive to steal the win for Concordia.
Despite the loss, Laval remains on top of the standings in the queue. The real battle is for 3rd and 4th place spots in the playoffs, as Sherbrooke, Bishops, and McGill are all vying to make the postseason. Let's head over to the Canada West now, where every team that wasn't named the Golden Bears is in the playoff hunt. We will start in the Prairies, though, where it was blackout night for those Huskies. Like I was saying, it was blackout night in Saskatchewan, featuring pyrotechnics that would make a roadie for Motley Crue salivate. Early in the first, Huskies up 4-0, but that all changes with this run from Anthony Coombs. 49 yards he goes for the major. Bisons take their first lead. However, the boys in black would battle back. Chase Bradshaw hits Mitch Stevens for this 11-yard score. The home sky jumps out in front. It's now 11-7. But a few minutes later, the herd would storm back. Teague Sherman blocks the Saski punt, gathers up the ball, and takes it to the house. That's another 7 for the visitors. They take a 3-point lead. However, Husky special teams would make a statement of their own as Seamus Neary gets his mitts on this punt attempt. Saski recovers and end up with a field goal. Final minute of the first half, and Bradshaw gets plucked by Terrence Couteau, who takes it to the house. But Bradshaw turns on the afterburners and brings them down at the Saski 9. Bisons earn just a rouge on the play. Remember that, as it would prove to be vital. Second half now, and the Bisons extend their 1-point lead to 8 with this 5-yard run from Keenan LaFrance. And the herd extend their lead after Bradshaw makes a huge mistake. In desperation, he tries this dump pass, which falls right in the hands of Ranji Atwal. The big man takes the pigskin to the house. Get that man some oxygen. He's going to need it. Manitoba now up 13. However, the Huskies wouldn't go away, down 16 to start the fourth Q, but this strike from Bradshaw to Kit Hillis cuts that deficit to 9. We got a ball game. Saski would trade touchdowns with the Bisons, but late in the Q, Bradshaw marches his team down inside the Manitoba 10, where he finds Mitch Stevens once again, his second major of the game. Final minute now, and the home side completes the comeback as Bradshaw hooks up with Shane Buchanan for the touchdown. The Huskies score an incredible 28 points in the final 15. They take it 44-39 in what was one of the games of the year. Huge win for the Huskies. With the win, they improve to 3-3 on the season and hold the tiebreaker for third place over the Bisons, who are also 3-3 on the season. Bradshaw with an enormous game, tossing for over 400 yards. His 38 completions on the day tied a Canada West single game record.
Regina, UBC, early in the first Q, and the Rams turn the ball over. Dylan Dawson comes down with a case of the dropsies. It happens. UBC recovers. That would lead to a field goal. 3-zip T-Birds. Second Q now. UBC lining up for the field goal, but the snap gets botched. They try to make a play out of it, but Logan Brooks picks off the pass. Looks like he got a little daylight there, but gets held up by T-Birds kicker Thomas Molt. Brandon Chung eventually makes the tackle. However, on the very next play, Zach Olenek gets picked by Brian Rideout. Huge turnover for the Birds as Billy Green marches the home side down into Regina territory, where Andrew Darkovich hauls in this 16-yard major, his first touchdown of the season on just his second catch of the year. UBC leads 10-0 at the half. First series of the second half, the Birds come out and add to their lead. Brandon Deschamps heads out to the outside. He's gone. Deschamps goes 85 yards for pay dirt. That's the longest rushing touchdown of the season for the UBC Thunderbirds. That makes it 17-0 for the blue and yellow. Regina would cut the lead down to 9, though, and this run from Mike Kiapwe would make the lead just 2. Regina clawing its way back into this one. It's now 17-15. Move to late in the fourth Q. Third string pivot Frankie Gray and a QB for the Rams, and this proves to be the dagger. Gray tosses the INT to Kofi Kumaminta. Fresh off his recruitment from the United Nations, UBC turns that turnover into 7 more points. Green airs it out to Jordan Grieve, who makes an unreal catch right in the back of the end zone. The two fifth-year seniors hook up in what is their final home game of the regular season at UBC Thunderbird Stadium. Green tosses for 190 yards, connecting on 17 of 25 passes. 2 majors. Deschamps rushes for 161 yards and 1 TD.
Calgary, Alberta. Eric Dulesky leading his unbeaten Dinos into enemy territory, facing off against Curtis Dell and those winless G-Bears. First play of the game for Calgary, and Dulesky finds Eli Buka, who reaches around his defender, hauls it in, and he's off. A 74-yard major. Check out the body control from Buka. Outstanding play right there. Early in the second, Dinos on 2nd and 8, and it's Buka with yet another athletic grab, extending out to make this one first down Calgary. 2 plays later, Dulesky calls his own number, punches it in. Calgary now up 17-1. Right before the half, Steven Lumbala gets his name on the score sheet, taking this dump pass and rushing it to the house, a 31-yard major. Second half now, and it's time for some more Lumbala. He finds a huge hole, and it results in another score for Canada West's top running back. That made it 31-1. Calgary would tack on 20 more points en route to their 6th straight win. Dulesky throws for 145 yards and the 1 touchdown, while Lumbala had a massive day, rushing for over 200 yards, scoring those 2 touchdowns. Let's take a look at the CW standings now. Of course, Calgary reigning supreme on top, but there are 4 teams now, Regina, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and UBC, that all could be hosting a playoff game come a couple of weeks from now.
All right, each and every week we sound like broken records here, saying it's David versus Goliath, blank versus McMaster. Don't worry, we're not going to do that again. But with that said, it was another David versus Goliath story in Hamilton, Ontario. Windsor, McMaster. You kind of get the feeling more paint may be headed for that wall soon, the way Mac's been playing this season. The Marauder faithful not tired of watching their team win just yet, apparently. Windsor hits the board first with a rouge, and then it'd be Kyle Quinlan's turn with the pigskin. Quinlan to the end zone, hits Spencer Moore. Mac takes the lead 7-1. The Lancers would answer, though Austin Kennedy sails a beauty 17-yard toss to Dylan Whitfield. Whitfield, a nice textbook grab with a man in his face just like that. It's an 8-7 tilt for the yellow and white. To the second cue we go. Quinlan drops back on second down and hits Robert Babick on the quick out. Babick turns this little 10-yard toss into 42 yards before being knocked out. That would lead to this. Quinlan sets back and threads one into Dolan Brooks. Dolan making it look easy in the pay dirt. It's a 14-11 ball game for the marooned ones. Points in the field, bonus points in the stands. Love a good foreshadowing sign because, yes, it did get worse. 1 second left on the clock for Tyler Krapina, and he smokes a 46-yarder to extend the Mac lead to 17-11 at the half. Third cue now after another Krapina strike. Quinlan finds Tyler Loveday from 5 yards out. Mac goes up 27-11. Windsor in need of a quick score, and that's exactly what they get. Austin Kennedy hooks up with Evan Prashonik, an 80-yard strike. The Lancers aren't done yet, unless you're talking about this game, because yes, they were done after that. Late in the fourth cue, punting on third, Krapina sends this one downfield, and it's misplayed by the Lancer return man. Zebras would spot it at the 1, then bad goes to worse within the blink of an eye. Austin Kennedy can't escape the pocket. The ball's popped out. Mac falls on it. That's your game. 39-18 would be the final. Turnovers were the story for Windsor. Austin Kennedy threw 4 of them in the losing cause. Kyle Quinlan, what can you say? The guy goes for just over 400 yards and 3 majors in front of a sold-out Ronnie Joyce Stadium.
I'm going to bet that Kyle Quinlan didn't get picked last when they were picking, football in the field there in the park.
Probably accurate, I would say, yeah.
Laurier Western. Donnie Marshall returns to the TD Waterhouse, crutches and all, after that lower body injury a few weeks back. His replacement, Will Finch, didn't have a bad day. Here he connects with Brian Marshall, of course, Donnie's brother, for a 69-yard score. It's 10-3 Western. That combo wouldn't be done there, though. Abercrombie and Finch, well done there. Ryan sets back in the pocket and finds Marshall again for another big TD. This one just over 2 minutes later, and it was a 55-yarder. Things continue to go in the way of the 5-liter Mustangs off the punt. The Laurier return man can't handle the pigskin. Western pounces. It's purple ball. From that turnover comes this. Will Finch, out of play action, hits Brian Marshall. Of course, once again, he reaches out and puts the points on the board. 27-3 now for the Purpleites. Fast forward to the fourth now for all you CIS fantasy junkies out there. I know there's a lot of you. From 20 yards out, Finch connects with Marshall again. What's that? Nothing but their 4th TD of the day. Western walks away with an easy one, 56-3. Brutal effort from Laurier. As mentioned, Brian Marshall had a colossal day, but Dr. William Finch VII was pretty huge as well, throwing for 339 yards, and of course those 4 touchdowns to who else but Brian Marshall. He also ran the ball for 88 yards and 1 major.
'Twas the 43rd annual Red and Blue game, and the Argo Cup is heading back to York. They pick up a 36-24 win. York QB Miles Gibbon with the big day on the ground. Go figure for the Red and White. He ran the ball for 135 yards on 15 attempts. Through the air, he went 12 for 28, not quite as good, over 200 yards, 1 TD, 3 picks, but it doesn't matter in the end. The Argo Cup heading back to York for the first time since 2007.
Guelph, Queens, and what was one of the biggest games of the weekend. Of course, we wish we had some pictures for you for this, but we'll have to describe it. 33-28 was the victory for the Griffins. With the win, they secured a first-round bye in the playoffs. It was a pretty tight game considering Queens' slinger threw 4 INTs. That was Billy McPhee, of course. Next up for Guelph, the Argo Cup champions themselves, those York Lions, while Queens takes on TO.
Ottawa, Waterloo. Don't adjust your television, you're reading this correctly. Not only did Ottawa win for the second week in a row, the GGs drove a Mack truck over Waterloo, put it in reverse, then peeled out over him again. 61-blank, your final score. Very first play of the game, Ottawa's Vincent Campbell returned the opening kickoff 107 yards to the house. Then Waterloo decided they didn't want to kick off again. Not a bad strategy, can't really blame them. So can Ottawa stay hot? We'll find out this weekend as they take on the scorching purple of the Western Mustangs. Over to the standings board we go. Mac still sitting in the top, undefeated. With their win this week, they've clinched home field advantage throughout the postseason. They're followed by Guelph at 6-1. Queens is still the silent killer in there at 5-2. And Western, my sleeper, is near the middle, still trying to break away at 4-3.
Atlantic Canada is where we'll finish up the highlights portion of the show, where it was a battle for not only second place, but for last. A little St. Mary's Mount Allison we will start with, shall we? Here you see 14 of freshman running backs Jordan Botel's season high, get this, 197 yards as the youngster set an AUS record carrying the ball 40 times in the game. Mount A goes on to beat St. Mary's 25-12. The Mounties travel to St. FX to play the X-Men this weekend. Of course, with big playoff implications on the line, a win by the Mounties will clinch them a second playoff berth in the past 3 years.
St. FX, Acadia. Acadia picks up another win, handling St. FX by 21. Kyle Graves connects on 20 of 33 passes for 260 yards and 3 majors. Bobby Troop rushes for 152 yards on 19 carries with the 1 tally.
All right, so the standings board we go now. We know Acadia is headed to the Loney Bowl. The question is just who will make the AUS semifinal for a chance to meet the Axemen in the conference championship. Well, judging by that performance, Ryan, we can see who wasn't chopped liver.
Obviously. This guy coming up, we're not even going to show his face going to commercial.
Thanks, Ryan, and other talent guy. Coming up next, Shomari Williams in the Pro Profile.